"I'm sleeping with your best friend tonight," she smirked. She thought I'd beg or break down, but my reaction was nothing she expected, and by morning everything had flipped on her. Welcome to RIT Bonds. Let's start the story. The evening promised to be a typical Friday, an opportunity to unwind, perhaps with a drink and some music, to shed the week's accumulated weariness. Instead, that night became an unforeseen turning point. I arrived home, eased my tie, and discovered her seated on the sofa, a glass of wine in hand, legs elegantly crossed, her gaze piercing. A palpable tension hung in the atmosphere. Before I could even inquire about her mood, a knowing smirk touched her lips as she uttered words that tore through me like a projectile. "I'm sleeping with your best friend tonight." For a prolonged moment, I remained utterly motionless, my mind refusing to process the gravity of the statement. Daniel, my closest friend, the companion who had been a constant presence since childhood, who had literally carried me home intoxicated during our college years, who had stood steadfastly beside me at the altar as my best man. And now, my wife, the woman I had entrusted with every facet of my heart, hurled those shattering words directly at me. Her delivery was unwavering, devoid of any hesitation. She explicitly intended for me to hear it, to experience the full force of her declaration. She sought a reaction. Perhaps she anticipated an outburst of screams, frantic pleas, or a complete emotional collapse. Perhaps she expected me to lash out in fury or crumple at her feet, thereby affirming her dominance over me. But what she demonstrably did not foresee was silence. A chilling, unsettling silence. I drew a deliberate breath, poured myself a glass of whiskey, and settled into the chair opposite her. "Is that so?" I inquired calmly, my gaze fixed on the amber liquid. She blinked, clearly disarmed by my unexpected composure. "Yes," she retorted, leaning forward, her voice sharp. "I'm exhausted from this pretense." She continued, "Daniel makes me feel invigorated, a sensation you haven't provided in years. He listens. He excites me. And tonight, I intend to be with him." My chest burned with an internal inferno, yet I betrayed no outward sign of distress. Inwardly, my heart was fragmenting, but externally, I offered her nothing. I sipped my drink and simply stated, "Then proceed." Her countenance contorted with confusion. "What?" she demanded, anticipating a struggle for her affections. But I offered none. I rose, walked past her, and opened the front door. "If that is truly your desire, do not waste time informing me. Simply depart." She stared at me as if I had lost all semblance of rationality. "You don't care," she accused, her voice escalating. "You're merely going to permit me to walk out that door?" I met her eyes, my gaze steady and unwavering. "You had already made your decision before you chose to inform me. You sought to inflict pain with your revelation. But the truth is," I paused, savoring the final drop of my whiskey, "you have only liberated me." She faltered, her self-assurance visibly cracking for the first time. She had anticipated chaos, but I had offered her no control. With one last, lingering look, she seized her coat, mumbled an inaudible comment, and forcefully slammed the door behind her. The ensuing silence was deafening. I remained standing, my heart pounding a furious rhythm, my fists clenched, yet I adamantly refused to permit the anger to consume me. I would not grant her that satisfaction. Instead, I retrieved my phone, scrolled through the photographs of me, her, and Daniel together, and emitted a bitter, humorless laugh at the memories. Every backyard barbecue, every televised football game, every double date, it had all been a monumental fabrication. Yet, betrayal possesses a singular capacity for sharpening one's intellect. While she hastened into his waiting embrace, I was already meticulously formulating my next course of action. You see, individuals of her ilk thrive on eliciting strong reactions. They yearn to witness your brokenness, finding empowerment in your despair. However, nothing proves more disconcerting to such a person than an individual who steadfastly refuses to surrender that power. I packed a travel bag that night. Clothing, essential documents, the bare necessities. I did not contact her. I did not contact him. Instead, I penned a brief note and placed it conspicuously on the kitchen counter. "You chose him. Retain him. By the time you peruse this, I will be gone. Do not attempt to locate me." Then I departed, my heart heavy with the weight of recent events, yet paradoxically lighter than it had felt in years. Over the subsequent days, I resided at a hotel and promptly engaged legal counsel. Divorce documentation was meticulously prepared before she even comprehended the seriousness of my intent. When she eventually sought me out, mascara smudged, voice quivering, I did not even permit her entry into my temporary abode. She pleaded, asserting it was a mistake, claiming she merely wished to provoke my jealousy and that nothing truly transpired with Daniel. But I simply regarded her and offered a cold, unwavering smile. "Do you recall what you uttered that night?" I inquired. She nodded, shame evident on her face. "You declared you were sleeping with my best friend. And whether you truly meant it or not, those very words obliterated everything we shared. They are irreversible." Her tears flowed freely, yet I remained resolute. She had craved a reaction, and she had finally received one, not in the form of rage, but in the profound finality of my absence. The day the legal documents were signed, she fully grasped the true extent of her loss. Not merely a husband, but the man who had loved her more profoundly than anyone else ever could. As for Daniel, I never communicated with him again. He attempted calls, sought explanations, but I disregarded all attempts. The sacred bond of brotherhood had been irrevocably shattered. In a single night, I lost two of the most significant individuals in my life. However, I simultaneously discovered something far more invaluable: freedom. Months later, I found myself standing on a balcony in a new metropolis, contemplating the city skyline, a drink in hand. The residual pain lingered, a faint echo that was steadily diminishing. But I was not broken. I was unequivocally alive, stronger and more resilient than I had ever been. Because sometimes, the most callous words, uttered in malice, are precisely the catalysts that liberate you. And that was the fundamental truth she never anticipated. She believed she was crushing my spirit. She believed she wielded control. But ultimately, my response, my calm, unwavering silence, was the very instrument that dismantled her. So, when people inquire about the conclusion of our story, I offer them this: she declared she was sleeping with my best friend. I instructed her to depart. And in that pivotal moment, I realized that sometimes the most potent form of retribution isn't anger. It is the dignified act of walking away without a backward glance. For more such stories, subscribe to M Channel.